bill to reduce prescription drug costs is one step closer to becoming law in Maine. The bill, sponsored by Senator Cameron Rennie of Bristol, aims to strengthen the Maine Prescription Drug Affordability Board and reduce prescription costs. If it becomes law, it would add one non-voting member with health data expertise to the Maine Prescription Drug Affordability Board to advise the board as it considers cost reduction strategies. The board would then provide recommendations to the legislature. The bill now heads to the governor's desk for her signature.